You're listening to Unravel with Natly Denise.
TGIF, welcome to Nightly with Natly. Yes, I've got my nerdy looking glasses on today because my contacts, I'm on my last limb with my contacts, and finally I was like, you know what? I can't stand the ripped them out, put on my glasses, no shame in my game. And now my eyes feel lovely. What's going on? Let's see. Keem, welcome to the mod squad. Keem is our new mod here. Thank you so much, Keem, for volunteering. Earthworth, what's going on? Mark, V, Ken M, what's going on? Welcome. All right, so update on the Chester Bennington, Chris Cornell series. So it's going to be a docu-series. I have decided it's not going to be one long documentary because the way that I will be presenting this information, it's best that these are individual documentaries on each. And if that gives you any foretelling as to what the documentary is, then good. If not, then you'll just have to wait and see. But that also means that it will be coming out much more sooner than later. The Chester Bennington piece is taking a little bit more time because we're actively producing that and putting together our details. I'm very excited for that. But yes, it is coming along. With that being said, there's a lot of headline to cover today. So let me go ahead and jump to it. Here we go. Perfect. Right on time. All right. So we're going to start with this. Coming from the Daily Mail. Look at Keem. Look at Keem with his mod branch. Welcome, Keem. Welcome to the mod squad. So glad you're part of the family. So, dailymail.com, Oprah Winfrey, Barack Obama, and Bill Clinton have called Joe Manchin and urged him to back killing the filibuster so the Democrats can pass voting rights legislation, report claims. So if you guys don't know, Manchin has been surprisingly holding up the line for patriots, and that's so unlikely. I never thought that I'd be saying that. I never thought that would be coming out my mouth. But yeah, he keeps killing the Build Back Better plan that Joe Biden keeps trying to put in place. And people are not having it. He's getting his phone lit up by the likes of Bill Clinton, Barack Obama, and Oprah Winfrey. So Senator Joe Manchin is taking heat from all sides as he resists eliminating the last stalwart against the Democratic agenda, the filibuster, including some of the biggest names in America. Manchin has told colleagues his phone has been lighting up with calls in recent days, including from former presidents Barack Obama and Bill Clinton. Though two former presidents and every Democrat in Senate couldn't budge the West Virginia senator, even TV host Oprah Winfrey phoned in trying to convince him to agree to the filibuster reform, according to Politico. Moderates, why are they so pressed on this? On a scale from 1 to Squidward, how pressed are you on this issue? These people are pressed. All the way down to Oprah. Oprah, what are you doing? What is Oprah doing in the juice, in the tea about this? But yeah, it came down to her. Moderate senators, John Tester, Tim Kaine, Angus King, were once leery of doing away with the 60-vote hurdle for fears of what Republicans would do if they took back the majority, but now they're leading the campaign to sway the West Virginia Democrats. Tester, Kaine, and King have reportedly met with Manchin at least 36 times to discuss the filibuster reform, sometimes joined by other Democrats, according to participants. Oh, it's time to know your rhinos, ladies and gentlemen. Know your rhinos. This is a big testament to that. Kaine likened the effort to sway Manchin on being trapped in the Interstate 95 on his drive through Virginia to Washington, D.C. for 27 hours. Slow progress toward a goal is like my commute. Democrats gave up for now on President Biden's Build Back Better social spending plan after months of back and forth proved fruitless, and Manchin came out in December to say that he would not be supporting the legislation. They said that they would instead focus their efforts on getting through voting rights legislation with a renewed sense of urgency as GOP-led states have enacted new election security bills over the last year. Good. Keep your eyes on these types of Republicans that are actually coming through. And then keep your eyes on the other side on these Republicans that want to rhino out. See what I mean? Senator majority, they said they would focus their efforts on getting through. I read that part. Senator Majority Chuck Schumer has vowed to pursue a nuclear option to bypass the filibuster if Democrats did not find an agreement with 10 Republicans on an election bill by Martin Luther King Jr. Day. But Manchin, who is supportive of the legislation to protect the right to vote, has remained hesitant about changing the Senate rules to expand the right to vote. Let me just say that to be open to a rules change that would trade a nuclear option, it's very, very difficult. So it's a heavy lift, he said. He didn't 100% rule out a carve out for voting rights, the issue he called paramount, but he did not get it behind it either. Once you have changed a rule, you can carve out is always this. Anytime there's a carve out, you eat the whole turkey. There's nothing left because it comes back and forth, he said. He also said the bedrock of democracy is voting. And what we have to do, we can order to preserve that. Manchin has been negotiating with the Republicans on voting rights legislation, but there is no sign it was 60 votes needed for passage. Conversations are still ongoing, he said, but there's basically the need for us to protect democracy, as he noted, said Manchin. I never thought I'd see the day. Never thought I'd see the day where Manchin would be the one holding the line for us. Super rhinos everywhere, Rona says. I know, Rona. Is it Ron? How do you pronounce it, Rona? I don't want to mispronounce it because I know I see you every night. Is it Rona, ROHNA pronunciation, or Rona? Like with the O? Let me know. But yes, Manchin is holding the line. All right, proceeding. Let's pivot to the next story because this one is this one snatched my wig. This one snatched my wig. And then Ken, before I move on to this, Ken said, yep, Ted Cruz is getting to be a rhino lately. I know. I'm surprised at that. Did you guys hear my last night's cast on Ted Cruz? That was very, very confusing. What is up with Rana like Donna? Thank you, Rana. Thank you so much for that. I will keep that in my memory instead of calling you Rona, like the Rona. Rana like Donna. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so moving on. So yes, Ted Cruz was very surprising yesterday. He made these, or it was like the day before yesterday. I think it was on January 5th, the J6 Eve, all these virtue signaling progressives that are like, oh, J6 is the worst that has ever happened in our entire, like, could you imagine gaslighting a society so much to the point where you're calling Pearl Harbor, 9/11, and all these other horrific dates and events in our history much lesser to J6? Could you imagine? This is insanity. So Ted Cruz decided to go along with that rhetoric, and I don't know where that came from. I don't know what possessed him to say that, but that is crazy. Ted Cruz has always been a rhino, says Dabin Beast. But pivoting on, this one is quite alarming news. This is still coming from the Daily Mail. Pro-Trump election audit firm Cyber Ninjas. Now, these were the guys that were doing the audit in Arizona, if you remember. They took a couple months, I want to say, to do this. And we still don't quite have like the full transparency of these results. And it is a question why, but as you guys know, I'm an optimist. No news is good news to me. They're not coming out and saying like, hey, there's nothing found here. They're just, for whatever reason, they're not releasing the results. But I know people are going to opt differently on that opinion because we are already in a new year and so much has happened last year. We just want to see results. And I understand the frustration. But anyway, Cyber Ninjas announces that it's shutting down and firing all of its staff after being threatened with a $50,000 a day fine for refusing to hand over the details of the Arizona 2020 recount. A pro-Trump firm that carried out the audit of the 2020 presidential chief selection ballots in Arizona is shutting down after threats of fines over its allegedly error-strewn account. Florida-based Cyber Ninja, which launched in 2013, has fired all of its employees, which the company's LinkedIn page said that it was between 2 and 10. Cyber Ninjas is shutting down. All employees have been let go. Rod Thompson, the company's representative, said Thursday. This comes after Maricopa County Superior Court Judge John Hanna said he would levy a $50,000 fine for each day Cyber Ninjas refused to hand over documents relating to the audit, which is claimed contained 80 misleading or false claims. Let me read that again. They refused to hand over documents relating to the audit, which these documents claimed that it contains at least 80 misleading or false claims. A local newspaper, the Arizona Republic, filed a public records request with Cyber Ninja, failing to comply with the legal duty to do so, resulting in the threat of a $350,000 a week fine. This is very questionable. I don't know what the heck is going on. Jack 𝘿𝘶𝘮𝘢𝘶, a lawyer for Cyber Ninjas, has not yet responded to media requests for comment. The report for election officials in Maricopa includes a record of nearly 80 misleading or false claims made by Cyber Ninjas in their audit. Truth is truth. Numbers are numbers, Arizona Senate President Karen Fann said at the time. Those same Republicans had hired Cyber Ninjas to do the review of the ballots in Maricopa. Interesting. The state's largest county in terms of population. The $6 million Republican-backed review of the 2020 presidential chief selection in Arizona's largest county officially ended in September and found no proof that the Arizona election was stolen from Donald Trump. Interesting. What the heck is going on? Despite Trump's promise of huge findings and vindication, the 6-month search for the evidence of fraud found by Biden won by 360 more votes than the official results that were certified last year. Resident Joe Biden defeated former President Donald Trump by a little over 10,400 votes, awarding the state's electoral votes to Democrats for the first time since 1964. Republican legislators were attempting to overturn the Biden win in the state, despite the then President Trump's cybersecurity official calling it the most secure in American history. Right. The Attorney General, William Barr, also said that the DOJ had found no evidence of widespread voter fraud. Maricopa County Board Chairman Jack Sellers, a Republican, called Friday's hearing irresponsible and dangerous. Cyber Ninjas, the Senate's lead contractor who compiled the forensic report, said in a 100-plus page report that there were no substantial differences between the group's hand count of ballots and the official count. The report also made a series of other disputed claims that the auditors say that should cast doubt on the accuracy and warrant more investigation. Continued on. The Cyber Ninjas' opinions come from a misuse and misunderstanding of the data provided by the county that were twisted to fit the narrative that something went wrong, Sellers said in a statement. Once again, these auditors threw wild, damaging false claims in the middle of the audit, and Senate leadership provided them with a platform to present their opinions, suspicions, and faulty conclusions unquestioned and unchallenged. Today, these auditors falsely and recklessly accused Maricopa County of potential crimes, and Senate leadership amplified those lies. The Maricopa County Twitter account live tweeted that Friday a press conference on the results of their Arizona audit and fact-checked Cyber Ninjas' claims. What the hell is going on here? What is happening? Why is it taking so long? Why is it that they never released these? I'm pretty sure. I mean, look, let's just go off of just like basic observations, basic assessments. Like, there were inaccuracies. I mean, this is not something that, of course, an audit is going to concretely prove this because they're going to be able to find statistical inaccuracies. They're going to be able to find counts. What the heck is going on that they can't release that data? This is so strange. So strange. The finding was embarrassing and to a widely criticized and times bizarre quest to prove allegations that the election officials and courts have rejected. It was no bearing on the final certified results. I don't know, guys. I need some of your opinions on this because I have no idea what the heck is going on with this. This is very strange. Very, very strange. The heck? How is it that this is going on, that they can't release the data? You understand? I'm so perplexed here. So they fired the thing that's more like explosive is that they fired everyone at Cyber Ninjas. I don't know how to wrap this story up. This is very strange. All right, let's move on to some more news. This is going to be Alec Baldwin pivoting next. So as you guys know, Alec Baldwin has been under the heat lamp lately because of his latest, we don't know what to call it, whether it's a suspect murder, a suspect tragedy. We don't know what to call it yet because he's not complying with police. Apparently, the police served him a search warrant for his phone because they suspect that there might be some messages that he had that could serve as some form of evidence supporting their investigation. And Alec Baldwin is not handing over his phone. Still coming from the Daily Mail. New Mexico authorities enlist help of Long Island Sheriff's Office to obtain material from his iPhone after fatal rush shooting. New Mexico authorities on Thursday said they are working with the police in New York State to obtain Alec Baldwin's cell phone after the actor failed to give up despite a search warrant to seize it. The Santa Fe Sheriff's Office and New Mexico First Judicial District Attorney's Office are actively working with Suffolk County Sheriff's Department, New York, and Baldwin's lawyers to get any materials from the phone pertaining their new investigation, according to the press release. The investigation relates to a probe into the fatal shooting of cinematographer 𝘿𝘀 Hutchins on the set of a Western movie, Rust. Baldwin, 63, could be seen in photos pacing around the outdoor set while talking on the cell phone immediately after the fatal shooting. A lawyer for Baldwin did not respond to a request for comment as to why the actor has not yet handed over his cell phone to authorities. I can only imagine why. What does Alec Baldwin have to hide? Now, you guys know that recently Alec Baldwin actually sat down with, I believe, 60 Minutes. And you know that these interviews that, perpetrators or suspects do dig up more dirt on themselves than it does help them. Prince Andy did it with some BBC interviewer, which put more dirt on him, made him look more suspect. And Alec Baldwin also did this. And Alec Baldwin's details, his body language, everything seemed to put more dirt on him than it did help him. It seemed to excavate a lot more detail that would aid more of a theory that Alec Baldwin was not friends with 𝘿𝘀 Hutchins, and in fact that he might have had malintent behind the activities of the set that led up to her tragedy, the fatality. But something really strange is going on. He does not want to give up this phone, which seems to be that if it went under some sort of forensic investigation or discovery, something would have been discovered. Baldwin is at home at a Megan set, Suffolk County. The 30 Rock star said that he was holding a revolver on a film set when it went off during the rehearsal back on October 21st, firing a live round that killed 𝘿𝘀. The actor said that the television interview never pulled the trigger and denied the responsibility for the shooting. He said he had no idea how the live round got onto the set. And as you guys remember, he was actually, at the time, there was some sort of blame shifting going on towards, I believe, there was like a handler, like some specialist who handles firearms on the movie set. It turns out that this was a rookie. She didn't have a lot of experience. And they tried to blame her for everything. So continued on, this is a quote from him. "The choices regarding any props by me for the film Rust were made weeks before the production began," he tweeted last month. "To suggest that any changes were made before a fatal shooting is false. The New Mexico prosecutor overseeing the case has said that some people who handled guns on set may face criminal charges over Hutchins' death." Something is strange. Something is suspicious about Alec Baldwin not handing over this cell phone of his, because if you have nothing to hide, then this shouldn't be a problem for anybody. Here's my phone. Vindicate me. Vindicate me. Like this would be like, that would be the first thing I do. Here is my phone. Vindicate me. I don't want this tied to my name. I don't want blood on my hands. I would say vindicate me. Here, search everything. This is what I would say. But unfortunately, this is not the case for Alec Baldwin. He's hiding something. All right. Switching gears here. So there is some transformation in proposition in some sort of child sex laws in Russia that I think are inspirational for the US, because they are really going in on, you know, these sex crimes against children. There was recently a really horrific crime that was committed in the past week, where there was a 5-year-old girl that was abducted from her mother's, it was like around the vicinity of her mother's job, where she was playing outside, and 2 suspects, they abducted her, they took her back to their hostel, and you can only imagine the graphic details that would ensue, ultimately resulting in her death. And so with that being said, a lot of new propositions are going in on the, the child sex crime laws in Russia. And I think that these are actually inspirational. So unfortunately, this had to happen for people to actually realize that something is happening in our world where this is becoming more rampant. Russia is to toughen. Oh, I'm sorry. Let me say this. This is now the Daily TrafficK, where I bring you the latest in human trafficking news and sexual exploitation headlines. Coming from the Daily Mail, Russia is to toughen its child sex laws this month to automatically jail repeat pedophiles for life in harsh polar prisons. That's right. So they're saying, hey, if you want to commit these heinous crimes against children, then you need a harsh sentence. Either you're going to get the or you're going to serve out your sentence in harsh conditions. So Russia, because they have the geography to support this type of harsh condition, they're proposing that all child sex offenders get served their sentence at polar type regions where it's really, really harshly cold and it's really miserable. Russia is to tighten its child sex laws this month to automatically jail repeat pedophiles for life in harsh polar prisons. Monsters who sexually abuse children would serve their sentences in hard labor penal colonies in the Arctic, where they would be forced to work in Siberian mines for the country's parliamentary speaker, the speaker said. The new legislation is being pushed after a horrific case this week of a girl, 5 years old, who was abducted by a recidivist, a pedophile, and as a lover, then raped and stabbed to death. Veronika Nikolaeva had been playing near her mother's job in Kostroma, and a video showed how she was snatched before being abused. The helpless girl struggled back and forth and fought back, but the passerbyers did not pay attention to her distress, and the men took her to their hostel. Her corpse was later found in a duffel bag as suspects named Denis Gerasimov and Vadim Belyakov planned to dispose of her body. So this is the actual footage. Please be warned that this is a very hard thing to witness, but I will be narrating this for those that cannot watch this. If you are watching, if you are listening in on podcasts. So this is the, let me refresh this. This is the footage captured of the 2 men abducting this 5-year-old girl in snowy conditions. And you can see here that she is actually struggling to get out of their grasp. They make off with the little girl, and she is crying. She's fighting for her life. And they are just, there's one passerby that I don't think suspects much, looks a bit elderly by the way that they're walking. And they make off with this young girl out in snowy conditions. She's abducted by now. And this is in Russia, Kostroma, to be exact. So that is the footage of the abduction. Continued on. These are the 2 suspects. The one on the left, I believe, is the one that is a repeat pedophile. He was earlier jailed for pedophile offenses, including producing child pornography. The other suspect is Vadim Belyakov, who's 24 years old, reportedly has a conviction for theft. So the one that has already been convicted for child sex offenses, his name is Denis Gerasimov. So now officials in Russia are calling for harsher punishments for these child sex offenders. And we need to take account of how other people are doing this, because this is important. And we ought to create legislation that will make these offenders very, very regretful for what they did. Very regretful. If it's not it's you're going to harsh sentences. So both men, they confessed on video of her murder. Parliamentary Speaker Vyacheslav Volodin, who is a close ally of Vladimir Putin, said that the terrible tragedy of Veronica's abuse and death showed the urgency of toughening the laws. He says one of the detained men turned out to be a formerly convicted pedophile. He says, let's do everything for the law on life sentences for pedophiles to be adopted in January. He backed calls for even tougher measures by sending all of these pedos to polar regions to serve their sentence. Those convicted for such crimes should serve life sentences in the harshest conditions in the extreme north of Russia or in the mines. Yes, I would agree. If they have to be sentenced somewhere, I say, like, if our tax dollars are going to pay for it, I would rather my tax dollars pay for something like a harsh condition, where they would absolutely regret every single day of their lives with the choices that they have made to cause destruction, hurt, and angst against children or families. These convicted for such crimes should serve life sentences in the harshest conditions. These B words should undergo the hardest labor so they remember the crimes they committed every day, he said, and regret them. They cannot be called human, he continued. Alexander Kinstein, the influential MP in the pro-Putin United Russia Party, said, it's necessary to adopt our bill to life punishment for pedophile rapists as soon as possible. All sex attackers released from jail should wear electronic tags, he said. And this is my thing. I know. Sophia says, I mean, he's not wrong. I know he's not wrong. In fact, I don't understand where we are as a society in the United States. Excuse me, I'm getting really worked up again. In the United States, where we allow sex offenders back on the street. And I actually did a piece on this today, and I'm going to probably release it tonight. So that way, you guys will have all day to watch it tomorrow or whatever. But the thing that's happening in the United States is absolutely jaw-dropping. The opposite is happening. In the United States, in blue cities, mostly major cities, there's something going on where there is an agenda, where these judges, and I read a story yesterday in Austin, that was where this happened. Judges are doing bail reforms where they're reforming the bail bonds to be lesser, much more obtainable. So these repeat offenders, these repeat criminal suspects, repeat criminals, they get off on lighter sentences and lighter bail bonds. This is crazy. I don't know why this is happening, but it is happening. And it's happening in a conjoined effort. So it seems to be that there is an agenda in the United States. The opposite seems to be happening in Russia, where they're saying, nah, we need harsher sentences. Maria Lavova-Belova, Putin's commissioner for children's rights, warned that sex attacks on children and adolescents have risen about 80% in the past 8 years. In this week's case, Gerasimov has been released from a sex crime conviction in March. As the girl's body was removed from the suspect's hostel, a mob of locals demanded to be allowed to lynch the suspects. The suspects are understood to have been in a long-term relationship since the younger man was underage. The men told interrogators that the crime was spontaneous as it was reported. The younger one suggested that his partner catch the girl and made fun of her. The video shows one suspect carrying the kidnapped girl down snowy streets while the other walks alongside. So this is the hostel that they raided. And you guys can see here, as they're carrying out the girl's body, There is a mob of Russian citizens just waiting. They want to take matters into their own hands when it comes to these pedos. And I understand the frustration. H says, what is happening in America is astronomically disgusting. I agree. They're making it, they're setting it up. They're setting it up. So this is what my call to action is that we have got to get our eyes on these councilmen, on these council members in our cities. They are the ones who are selecting these judges. And the judges, if they're installed by an agenda, if they're installed by these council members that have an agenda, then best believe they are going to make their judge decisions based on that, not by the oath that they're taking anymore. That oath, these judges are not all judges, not all of them, right? There's just still some good ones out there, but these judges that are corrupt and that are acting based off of agenda, not by the oath to protect their citizens, they are throwing out their oath out the window, and they're just acting on nothing but agenda. So this is the hostel being raided. Right here, so you can see there was a dirty hostel, clothes everywhere. Oh, is this on? It's not on. And as you guys can see, as the Russian officers are taking out the body, there is a mob outside. You hear that sobbing? That's a 5-year-old little girl they're carrying out that hostel. That's the 5-year-old girl that they're carrying out this hostel. This is how sick our society has become. This is how sick our society has become. You heard that woman sobbing as seeing a 5-year-old little girl's body being carried out that hostel. And these people being let out on our streets, repeating offending every single time. This is why they are able to do this. And this is being constructed in America right now. And people are turning a blind eye because we don't know our council members. We don't know what is going on behind the scenes, and we've got to get a hold on this. When police raided the room shared by the suspects in the hostel, they found the little girl's body hidden in a duffel bag, say law enforcement sources. The girl had been raped before she was killed. Local news in Russia said that as soon as the information was made public, the mob formed. Immediately after the information about the detention of the suspects appeared, local residents gathered by the hostel where the child's body was found reported to 112 news outlet. They demanded that the suspect murderers be handed over and wanted to lynch them. This is the mob that you guys just saw outside the hostel. A social media post said, this case shows again that the surveillance system for pedophiles does not work and gives them the opportunity to commit the crimes again. And it is such a damn shame that it has to be Russia to lead this effort. It is such a damn shame that it has to be a foreign country that has to care more about children than our own United States, the land of the free. You understand? Like, this is infuriating. This is embarrassing. This is embarrassing that we have officials in current office sitting in a seat. They are taking oath by an agenda, and they're not taking oath to protect people, to protect your children and your families. They're taking oath of an agenda by a cult. And it takes Russia for them to lead on this effort. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing, but good on Russia. But good on Russia on leading that. Good on somebody to lead that, because this is absolutely embarrassing and infuriating. I just have to take a deep breath. I can't believe it. All right, I'm going to pivot on. It's so sad. It is so sad what is going on. This is coming from Fox 6 Milwaukee. Milwaukee human trafficking fugitive captured in Phoenix, FBI says. So this guy had been on the run for a while, and they finally captured him. He is a suspected trafficker. The Milwaukee field office of the FBI announced Friday, January 7th, the capture and arrest of Adrian Edwards of Milwaukee. Edwards, 38, was wanted for his involvement of sex trafficking of a minor. News release says law enforcement received a tip, and following up on that tip, Edwards was successfully taken into custody in Phoenix, Arizona by the U.S. Marshals Task Force on Thursday, January 6th. Last month, the FBI announced a $5,000 reward for information leading to the arrest of Edwards. Good. Glad he's captured. All right, pivoting to the next story coming from Newsweek. Man receives a 25-year sentence for sex trafficking a 17-year-old and others at a 2020 Super Bowl. A Connecticut man is charged with sex trafficking 2 women and a teenager during the 2020 Super Bowl in Miami. He was sentenced to 25 years in prison on Thursday. As you guys may or may not know, the Super Bowl or any major sporting event are hotbeds for human trafficking. And the reason for that is, usually when people are traveling out for entertainment, they're going to go and travel out for more entertainment. So more people, they'll go to strip clubs, they'll go to clubs and all these things, but some sick people in our society want sex. And so what happens is they have to have a supply for that demand. So that's where sex traffickers and pimps, they flock to these sporting events, whether it be, boxing events, Super Bowls, soccer events, whatever it is, because they know that most of the fan base are men. There are women, but I'm saying there's lots of men. And, unfortunately, that is the demand center for this horrific crime. Edward Walker, 48, was sentenced by a federal judge in Fort Lauderdale after a jury found him guilty on 2 counts of sex trafficking after an 8-day trial in October. Prosecutors said Walker took a 17-year-old girl and 2 women from Connecticut to Miami from Super Bowl. I can't read Roman numerals. I apologize. Where he forced them, the Super Bowl in 2020, we'll just say that, where he forced them to engage in sexually explicit activities for money, according to a news release from the Department of Justice. According to the criminal complaint, Walker was arrested in a police sting where an undercover officer answered an online ad he posted for a sex worker named Foxy, the New York Post reported. Foxy told investigators that Walker tried to take her and other women and the teen to get a job at a strip club, but they were turned away because they couldn't provide proper identification, according to the complaint. She told investigators that Walker then forced them to work on Ocean Drive as prostitutes. The complaint states, Foxy said Walker threatened to harm the teenager if she didn't make enough money. Walker then moved to posting online ads for sex work. Walker was one of the 3 people arrested on sex trafficking charges during the Super Bowl by the FBI's Child Exploitation and Human Task Force, the New York Post reported. Walker will be transported back to Connecticut to face charges on 2 counts of production of child pornography, where he allegedly produced 2 videos involving a minor, according to a release from the DOJ. If found guilty, the convicted of the new charges, he will face 15 to 30 years in prison for each count. A jury found him guilty of sex trafficking by force and coercion, sex trafficking of a minor by force and coercion, and transporting a person for sexual activity. While in Miami, Walker emotionally, psychologically, and financially coerced the victims into soliciting customers and having sex with them in exchange for money, all of which Walker kept, officials said. Additional evidence showed that Walker also planned to take the victims to other locations, including Chicago, during an NBA All-Star game in New Orleans during the Mardi Gras to further exploit them. I told you guys, this is what happens. This is what happens. Major events, whether it is a boxing match, whether it is the All-Star, the NBA game, whatever it is, if it's major, this is where hotbeds exist. All right, taking this to innovatelli.com. Souls for sale, tracking trafficking on Long Island. High-profile case replete on bold-faced names, private planes, and unashamed debauchery may be over for now, but human trafficking persists. It's far more prevalent than we imagine, even here on Long Island. So for those of you, from that area, listen up. So they talk about the Ghislaine Maxwell trial, how it brings light to it, but they also go down to the U.S. Department of Justice defining human sex trafficking. Continued on, New York State ranks 4th in the United States in human trafficking cases behind California, Texas, and Florida. While these states are among the nation's most populous, their large immigrant communities, big numbers, and vulnerable runaway and homeless youth and heavy reliance on agricultural trades fuel a modern-day slavery system. Cocoa obviously has made it worse. The Washington-based Polaris Project found that reports of online sex trafficking via social media, dating apps, and websites promising quick money, green cards, and a place to live increased 45% during Cocoa, while traditional forms of commercial sex trafficking, street prostitution, for instance, fell up by approximately 30%. Between 2007 and 2019, New York agencies tallied 1,500 statewide trafficking victims. According to the New York State Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance, were 301 confirmed cases in 2020 during the height of the pandemic, more than a single year since tracking started. So I just wanted to give you guys, highlight some of those statistics coming from the East Coast, Northeast Coast. This is happening in every single area, but of course, Cocoa makes it harsher because, you know, people can't detect these. They can't always detect what's going on. We can't see patterns. This is why it's, you know, I've said this earlier this week. That's why we need to get kids back in school, so these teachers will have more visibility on these child behavioral patterns. They can detect whether or not something is normal or not normal at home. So, you know, of course, Cocoa is going to be a proponent to that. All right, guys, with that being said, this was a hefty news day. I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you so much for always staying tuned to Nightly with Natly, the daily traffic on very important news headlines. I truly appreciate you all. Thank you so much for your kind words, for your kind support, your kind care for me and my news platform. Please continue to share this with different people, with different groups. For those of you on audio podcast, please rate this podcast 5 stars so your girl can climb in the ranks. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend, and I hope you rest easy. Until Monday, you guys have a good one. Bye-bye, guys. Have fun, and as always, God bless all of you.
Thank you so much for tuning in to Unravel with Natly Denise. Please give this podcast 5 stars.